This week on Erotic Awakening, labels, power exchange depends, best of spanking.
Ooh. Welcome to Erotic Awakening, an exploration of all things erotic. If you are offended by adult topics or prohibited by law, we recommend you stop listening right now.
The Erotic Awakening Podcast is grateful to the support of our patrons who receive early access to the podcast as well as other perks.
Thank you to our new supporters, people like the Rope Aficionado
and Marty.
Ooh, awesome. I feel like we might know Rope Aficionado.
I think we do.
Okay, we may even know Marty, but cool. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dawn. So, Dawn, you did a great job of dealing with the changes that I just made to the opening a moment ago, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. If you would like, what do they call it? Foreshadowing?
Mm-hmm.
I think over the 12 years we've been doing the podcast, we have been very upfront with our listeners on how we get support for the podcast. We've had advertisers in the past. We've been doing the Patron thing for a while. We've done sponsorships for a while. We've done a variety of things. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later in the podcast.
Awesome. Yeah. So, over 12 years, we've tried a couple of different things. So, I do want to mention that we didn't have a podcast last week. So, we talked about that on our Discord channel. So, the people on the Discord channel got the heads up that it wasn't going to come out. So, we've been busy with the RV and the closing of the condo and technology and trying to figure things out and Zoom calls and all kinds of stuff, and just was worn out.
But that's bullshit excuses, podcast listeners. We're going to start going back to every week. I know when I listen to other people's podcasts and they're like, I'm too busy, blah, blah, blah. That's how I always hear it.
Okay, so I won't whine about it, but...
Dawn, we have a lot of stuff to talk about on today's show, but we're going to start off with a little Q&A from one of our newer listeners. And they had asked, and we had a couple of their questions previously, but they had this one question that I wanted to make sure we spend a little bit of time.
Okay.
They had asked about how to define all the different roles and titles, and noting that they're very unique to the people. But sometimes they will hear terms like Brad or boy or pet. And sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't.
I was actually reading something on Facebook, I think it was, and it was about like masters and slave. And the person that was asking it, this was a different person than
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, will someone just tell me what these words mean? Yes. And everybody was like, we can't tell you. We can tell you what they kind of mean, but then they get shifted to fit the people that are using them, right? So sometimes it's hard to define these words. Some people would like a definition.
So today on the podcast, we're going to define those words, and those words mean from now for all time.
Who was it that did the BDSM dictionary?
As you mentioned before, Jack Ranella once tried to publish this BDSM
dictionary and to give specific words and descriptions to each of these titles, and he jokingly says that he now has boxes and boxes of these dictionaries in his basement because nobody wanted them. So
the first thing I'm going to say about these definitions is, one, we're going to tell you what they mean, at least from our perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing I want to mention is if somebody introduces themselves as as this is my daddy Phil, and I am their baby girl, and you want to know more about that definition, ask, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, don't assume.
Right.
So,
because if in the a daddy is a great example. In the leather community, it means something somewhat different than in the fetish community.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will use terminology that to them means, for example, mistress to someone might mean, when me and my hubby go in the bedroom at night and I tie him up, right? But the rest of the time we're peers. Other people might see that as a 24/7 definition. So again,
Some people might see it as the other woman, which is the way it used to be in the past.
I forgot about that
Yeah.
definition of mistress. All right. So let's rock through some of these.
Okay, and just remember that there are thoughts, like Dan said.
absolutely.
They're just our thoughts. I highly recommend with anything, this is actually my go-to. Whether you see a pineapple flag, like we might be when we're RVing, or a flamingo, whether you see a tattoo of an affinity symbol with a heart, right? Whether you see something, never assume what these things mean. If you're really curious, ask the person, what does this mean to you?
I will tell you, and for those that don't know, the infinity symbol is often identified as within the polyamory community as an infinity symbol with a heart in it is often identified as a polyamorous symbol, right? And I have asked somebody who had the infinity symbol with a heart in it, and she said, "Oh, it's because me and my sister, we have infinite love for each other." It's like, cool, we both have that tattoo, but it certainly meant something different to them.
Right.
So here we go.
So I don't assume.
Dawn,
Okay.
You're going to name a term, and you're going to give me a one-sentence definition, and then I'll do one, and we'll go back and forth.
Oh, so I'm picking the title and giving the definition?
Yep. Or you can pick a title, and I'll give you my definition, and we'll go back and forth. Let's do that. That's more fun.
Okay. So I'm going to give you brat.
Okay. To me, a brat is a person that is a BDSM player. It is a BDSM play thing. And it is, I am happy to bottom for you, but I come with some attitude. So don't expect me to sit still.
Okay, cool.
Dawn, define slave.
Someone that obeys without hesitation and has surrendered from their heart.
Ooh.
Oh, wait, I'm stuck there. I'm supposed to have a word for you.
Yes.
Master.
Someone who leads and is responsible for a relationship 24/7, maybe male or female. Dawn, dame.
Dame, yes. Some people do not like the term dame.
Or the pronunciation.
Or the pronunciation of it is what I mean. So that's the DOMME, which usually means a female dom. So, and like I said, some people call it dame, some people call it dom, some people like to just use the word dom instead of dame. So, and you're going to find that that word dame is regional. So some people use it, like it. Some people have not heard of anything else, and others have switched it up. So
you haven't
anyway.
actually defined it yet.
Oh, it's a female
identifying
dom, female identifying dom, which means, well, it could mean just about anything. But usually, the way I've seen it, it can be the same level as a master, except that it's female identified.
Okay.
So you look like you're going to disagree with me. And
I would disagree, but it's not my term to define anything.
Well, the thing is that
so dom and dame are one of those tricky words like sub.
Right.
Sometimes there are 24/7 situations. Sometimes it's a bedroom situation. Sometimes play only. Right.
Yeah. So, but the ones that I have seen that have used it, I would consider
fair.
them almost master level. So, or mistress level.
Good enough.
So, okay. Oh, that's right. It's my turn. Damn it. I keep forgetting.
I already got my next one ready to go.
Let's go top.
Somebody who leads in a single scene, a BDSM scene. Somebody who is holding the flogger, swinging the flogger.
Can a slave be a top?
A slave can be a top.
Yes, because a slave is a slave.
Is
and
a lifestyle choice. A top is a play choice.
Right.
Dawn, switch.
Oh, that's someone that swings from both sides. So not swing as in swinger, but plays on both sides. So they can be a top and a bottom. They can be a sub and a dom, depending how you use that definition. I don't know that they can be a slave and a master in the way I think of slave and master. But I bet you people can argue that.
Okay.
So, for you? What do we have left? Oh, boy.
Normally associated with somebody who has some connection to the leather community, maybe male, female, or gender neutral, or non-binary. Normally led somebody who is of a follower dynamic. And I'm not going to go any deeper than that because really you run the scale anything between a collared submissive and a slave and a brat. It really depends on the boy.
Cool.
Dawn, Bellet.
Bellet. Oh, wait, I should know this. So this is the terminology that you and I have started using.
Do you want me to remind you?
Bellet would be you. I'm waiting for it's been
No,
a it's been
Bellet is you. I am a bellum.
You are correct. I was looking at
Thank you.
the wrong word. Yes, sir, you are correct. Bellet. Okay, so I am Bellet, which means beloved servant.
Thank you.
But there's
beloved
also
servant.
a little bit more to that when we look up what we actually defined and put in writing for ourselves. But simply, beloved servant.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, Bellum.
Benevolent dictator.
That
no,
is true.
That's not actually
That
the
is kind
actual.
of true.
It is kind of true, but a leader in a power exchange relationship, responsible.
Right. So it's we've started to change our language, and Bellum and Bellet are what we are currently using. And Kame is part of that language, which used to be bat. So Kame bat.
And there are many other terms that we use. If you head over to the Dan and Dawn profile on the FetLife, you can read them all yourself.
Yeah, it's under a writing, isn't it? That you have?
It is under the writing, but I think I want to do is link it to our profile page as well.
Okay, cool. So we've got Bellum and Bellet. So we've done brat, slave, master, Bellum, Bellet, dom, top, bottom. So there's top and bottom. So you've also got bottom, which is play related. Boy. How about pet owner? Sometimes that's a power exchange.
Yes, absolutely. And again, that one is super tricky because it actually relies. That's one where, really depends on how you want to define those terms. I don't really have a good definition for pet owner. I would recommend go over to the podcast and do a search for pet owner relationships. We had a wonderful interview on that with at the time, the international trainer.
He was a pup trainer, wasn't he?
International pup trainer, yes.
Yeah, because there's a couple of different things. When it comes to pet owner, they could mean pet as a pet name for their submissive or other person, right? Lowercase letter. Or it could mean pet as in human pup, human kitty, human pony, human horse, things like that. So it could mean a couple of different things.
All right, let's move on.
Oh, wait. So did we do daddy, mommy? Because you did talk a little bit about that.
Again, leaders in power exchange relationships, but again, not an area that I have a great level of confidence to speak on.
Sometimes it's with age play, sometimes not. So again, don't assume when you hear daddy, mommy, or baby girl. Do you ever hear baby boy? I hear baby girl, but I don't know that I've ever heard baby boy.
I have not.
So, but I don't run if it's an age play term, I don't run in that crowd. So cool. So I think we've covered some. If there's any others that you would like to hear, make sure to reach out to us. You can get a hold of us on Dan and Dawn, which is our FetLife profile, or Dan and Dawn at eroticawakening.com if you want to email us, or on Discord, Instagram, Twitter, all these things.
Yeah, we're all over the place. So, Dawn, as you mentioned, we have been doing the RV lifestyle. We're moving around. We've been pretty damn busy trying to shut down where we did live and move into our new place. So, not a lot of new events to mention. Not a lot of stuff coming up.
No, and I actually want to point out that usually all of ours, oh my gosh, this is today when we're recording is August 1st. I do not have the August newsletter out yet. I do not have it out yet because I do not have the August events scheduled yet on FetLife. So you can usually find our events either on FetLife under Dan and Dawn. Some of my Eros gathering workshops, my energy workshops, my Rev Dawn workshops, they're under my name on Fet, which is Dan Zarani. The Dan and Dawn account will be marked as maybe going. or on our newsletter, which is not out yet,
I was going to
or
say,
on our website
enough
calendar.
of that or stuff. Keep it easy. Keep up with all the events, book news, discounts, and more via the Erotic Awakening newsletter.
That's the best place to do it. So, and when you sign up for the newsletter, you get your name shouted out on the podcast. So go get your EA shout out like Puddles did from Northeast Victoria, Australia.
Or Amy
Ooh.
MC from Eastern Indiana. See you soon, Amy.
Or
We'll be in your neighborhood.
Nichelle from Maryland.
Or Joanne from Kentucky. We'll see you. We'll be in your neighborhood soon.
Shannon from Queensland. Are we going to be in there?
No.
Oh.
The RV does not float. Susan from Illinois.
And Mickey from Ohio.
Head over to eroticawakening.com and subscribe today.
Awesome.
So, Dawn, as I alluded to at the beginning of the show, we did want to just mention a format change. As I've mentioned, over the 12 years that we've been doing the podcast, we've been pretty straightforward with the variety of ways we act to keep the podcast funded. Now, we do not make enough. So funny. So many of the podcasts that have come after us have turned it into this big business, and they're making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, and
Holy cow.
good for them. We don't need to make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, so we try to keep everything as available and free as possible. We do offer our patrons some perks.
Mm-hmm.
As it happens, our financial situation has changed a little bit, and we have decided we are going to go ahead and accept sponsorship. And what that means is we will have a single sponsor on the podcast. We will mention their stuff. We have a vetting process for who we were going to allow
Very
to sponsor
important
us.
for us, yes.
But we're going to dig that we still have our patrons and stuff. So what is going to happen is if you're a patron, you're going to get a version of the podcast that has no mention of this sponsor. It's going to be just like you've always got it. If you are not a patron, fantastic. You'll still get the podcast, but you're going to hear about our sponsor. That's to acknowledge their financial support of the podcast and keeps it free for those that don't want to be patrons.
Exactly. So, though patrons will also get it a little bit early.
And
So a little bit early and ad-free.
Yeah, so we're trying
So
to,
cool.
we want to say thank you and to very much support the patrons and the patronage that they provide.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, bills to be paid, so balance. Trying to find that balance.
Exactly. So,
Speaking of balance, Dawn,
yes.
somebody
What did I
asked
do?
on a FetLife post, they
Uh-huh.
said, I am a new to the lifestyle and I identify as a follower.
Okay.
And are contracts required, they ask? And what punishment? Is it based off the things that I hate? And is giving a slave aftercare frowned upon? And you said, it depends. What kind of answer is that? Are you telling me there's no consistency to how power exchange relationships work?
No, it's very individualized. So are contracts mandatory? No. There's some people that contracts don't work. That doesn't work at all, or they resist it. I mean, why would you start off your relationship with resistance? But for some of us, it's a huge tool, so it's fantastic.
Let me ask the question differently.
Okay.
If at Power Exchange Summit, an event that you and I ran for many years,
Yes.
and there's a variety of styles of power exchange there.
Absolutely.
And some of those people used contracts, some didn't. Some used aftercare, some did not. Some used punishment,
Some did not.
some didn't even use punishment.
We just had an episode
Yeah.
kind of recently on non-punishment.
Is there any consistency in power exchange? Is there anything you could say, you could look around that 300-person event and say, why, yes, we all do this?
One
Somewhere-
person leads.
Go on.
Okay. Someone leads.
Mhm.
Someone follows.
So it's all monogamous.
No, that's why I said someone instead of one person.
Aha!
So it does not need to be monogamous. So, but there is a leader and there is a follower
Okay.
or
Can
more.
I want to add to that. Or more, sure.
Mhm.
I'm going to add to that. They are consensual relationships.
That is true.
And in my view, they are negotiated
Mhm.
relationships. Now,
Yes.
we do know I know at least some power exchange relationships that are not negotiated, and I do not personally consider those ethical power exchange relationships. And some people disagree with me, but and I don't mean something like actual chattel slavery, but something like the relationship starts with me, leader, you follower. That's the end of our negotiation. And 3 weeks later, no, you can't see your family anymore. And 3 weeks later, sign over all your banking information to me because I am the leader, right? That I don't consider and boy, it's tough for me to say I don't consider those real power exchange relationships because as I say it, I could think of some situations where I would buy into that.
I'm sitting here thinking, I know some people that would actually enjoy that, and they would consider the negotiation exactly what you just said.
And if that leader is an ethical human being who said, wow, your family is super toxic, you can't be around them anymore, and wow, you're spending all your money on Pokemon.
Right.
I need to control that. So I guess it is just there's a leader and a follower. Everything else it depends.
I'm at that point at this point. Yeah, I used to have a lot more definitions for it, a lot more requirements for it to see it as power exchange in my head, but I'm to the point of there's a leader, there's a follower, it's consensual.
Okay. I'll accept that.
And that's very simplistic. I know that. And I absolutely want feedback on this if you don't agree, because I could simply just be forgetting about something because I take things automatically now instead of thinking through them.
But
you know what I mean?
No, and I think that's positive for us, right? To be more instinctive, to be more, to
accepting.
When you first, and I guess when you first started this whole power exchange thing, and I would say, go ask Mistress Z if they would like a Coke. You would chew that up in your mind and analyze it and all this kind of shit. And is it, Mistress blah, 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 right? And we don't do that much anymore, right? We just accept this is the way things are.
And to me, that was that whole switch flip of submissive versus slave.
Mm-hmm.
When I chewed it up in my head a lot, that was submissive. I was choosing to obey.
Mm-hmm.
With slave, I have surrendered, and it's just more automatic now. And that's a big trippy word too, surrender. I almost want to say, hey, let's talk about that. Let's not. So the show will get much too long.
We'll save it for another show, though. It's a good conversation. John, so that's it depends. You had mentioned the other day.
You know what? Wait.
What?
When I saw this on the notes,
yes.
Power exchange depends.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where my head went?
Something about old people?
Yeah. It really did.
So, Don, the funny thing is, prior to one of the things that led us to talk about and start thinking about sponsorship and finances, not only the financial difficulties that we've recently encountered, but the fact that you had a couple people reach out to you lately that were advertisers in the past that said, hey, we want to start advertising again.
Yeah, they've both been advertisers in the past, and they're actually good friends of ours. Mm-hmm. Right? So, and they're like, oh, so are you advertising again? And we're like, no, we told our patrons we wouldn't do that. So I actually love this balance that we've got to where we're going to have it's the same podcast, but kind of like two versions of it. So that's going to be kind of neat. But the people that reached out to us, I at least want to give a shout out to.
Sure.
And because I really like them. They're both vendors. They've both had a hard time during COVID. And I just put I just went through my toy bag recently while we're moving into the RV, and I have toys from both of these vendors. And that's KJ Canes. So if you've listened to our old podcast, you will have heard us talk about KJ Canes. Love their products, and they're easy enough to find. It's kjcanes.com. So KJCANES.com. And the other one is the Kink Shop.
Yep, our friends Mac and family over there at the Kink Shop.
Absolutely. So, and they have wonderful products, and we've seen them at a lot of events when there were events. And again, they're easy to find, and it's thekinkshop.com. So,
and in case you're wondering, that is not advertising. That is us doing shout-outs for our
that
friends.
is our shout-outs
people
for our
that
friends.
we support and have supported us.
So, but yes, if you want quality stuff, I highly recommend these people.
So, Dawn, we're getting close to wrapping this episode up, but first I want to ask
It's
you...
almost time for ice cream.
It is. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get up and take the ice cream out, so it's going to be temperature ready to eat. But first, Dawn, what is it? You're going to a spanking party.
Okay, I'm going to a spanking party.
Yep.
Oh, but I put away, I got no clothes. There's no room for clothes in the RV.
Okay, stop your whining about clothes.
Because my spanking skirt.
I am literally now walking towards the
able...
freezer and taking out the ice cream.
I see you doing that.
The question is,
yes,
what kind of ice cream do you want? Well, you only got one choice. You only have one kind in here. No, the real question is, when you go to a spanking party, what is that one thing that you want to find in that spanking party?
In the party or in a toy bag?
Nope, at the party. What is it that's going to make it a great party?
At a spanking party. What is it that's going to make it a great party?
Yep.
Well, the first thing that popped into my head was a spanking bench.
That's simple. So if I want to hold a great spanking party, I need to make sure that there's a spanking bench.
Well, you could make sure there's low lights, good music,
No.
good toys.
One thing.
Somebody with a big hand.
See, I agree with you. If you are going to make a spanking party, I think actually having spanking bench or spanking benches really sets the tone.
Well, that's what we did with our spanking parties. We didn't put out the cross frames, the St. Andrew crosses. We didn't put out the whip lanes. We didn't put out, we put out a couple of massage tables, but those were for spanking. That was when we ran out of spanking benches. Mm-hmm. I want a spanking bench.
I agree. It does set the tone. Mm-hmm. All right, let's wrap this thing up. It looks like from a food on boob perspective, I've got nothing.
Oh, but I got some cool stuff. And I don't remember if I mentioned this on the last show because we kind of got mixed up with some of our technology. So I don't know if it actually got through or not. But I'm going to mention again. So Lucian sent me a TikTok. And it's of someone using a tentacle for... See, I remember tripping on this word last time, but I don't remember if it was on the show or not. It was a tentacle prosthetic. Mm-hmm. Is that how you say that?
It is. It's perfect.
So cool. So they had a tentacle prosthetic for an arm. Okay. And that was really cool.
And creepy.
And creepy. And then today, someone's been listening to our podcast and listening about the pineapples with the RVs, and they know I like tentacles. And they sent me this picture of a pineapple, and the top prickly part of the pineapple that's green? That was tentacles. I want a flag like that. That would be so cool. It's a pineapple with tentacles.
Absolutely.
So cool.
Speaking of pictures, you can head over to Instagram and find the picture of the day, which includes, today we put up 3 different pictures, including a 69.
We did, actually.
Yes.
So that is true. And we may end up with a lot of food pictures on there. So we skipped a couple of weeks of Instagram pictures, and then today we did 3. So one involves a 69, one involves what we had for lunch, which was amazing, and the other one is of us sitting in our RV, getting ready to podcast.
Find us on Instagram and see the picture of the day at Erotic Awakening.
Indeed. So take us a moment to support the podcast. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and I'm sure there's a lot more out there, including the one in India, or wherever you listen.
Or just tell your friends.
Bye, Dan.
Bye, Dawn.